One by one, the Urnians fell. "Hold, for the love of gods, hold!" Commander Hearns called out, his voice cracked and worn. He stood the line despite the arrow in his shoulder, blood seeping out between the plates of his armor. Hearns knew the folly of their stand, the same as all who accompanied him. None of the Urnians fought for survival. Their lives were already at an end. Their value lay in the time their deaths would buy to those they protected. Every moment counted. Every passing second was a second the Urnians maintained control of their last mana field. As their lives dwindled, the stockpile of mana grew. All considered it a fair trade, none more so than Terra. She had volunteered for the duty willingly, wanting nothing more than the chance to help, to do something, to find some small way of repaying Hez. If it was all over, then at least she could give something back. She stepped out from her cover, her arrow already nocked and bow drawn. Keen eyes searched across the battlefield and picked out a target. The arrow flew and the enemy fell. She stepped back behind the stone before they could respond. 3 arrows left. Then she'd need to join the line. Then it would be over. Terra drew another arrow and let it fly. It glanced off a shield. She cursed. The Uvran front line was heavily armored, making targets sparse. Flashes of vulnerability would occur. A raised arm exposing a gap in armor or an overextended leg offering a tantalizing shot at a knee, but they were hard to track and even harder to exploit. Reinforcement runes made every other shot a waste of an arrow. Misha stood beside her, emptying her own quiver. Both were light blades, though neither had the telltale glow of their trade. Their mana stockpile had run out hours ago. When they joined the melee, neither would have the benefit of their runes. Terra exhausted her arrows first. She gave Misha a small nod and then unsheathed her katana. "See you in the halls, Ms.," Terra said. Misha nodded in response, her eyes darting quickly to Terra. "In the halls. Shine bright, Terra." Terra raised her blade up. "Shine bright." Then she pivoted and leapt out from behind the rock, her lithe, powerful form quickly closing the gap to the front line. Light blades weren't well suited for the scrum between armies, their abilities best suited for scouting and flanking, but they still posed a far more lethal threat than the standard soldier. What she wouldn't give for just a flask of mana, a vial, single gulp. Ahead, a Urnian soldier fell, skewered by 2 spears. The Uvran shield-bearers moved to exploit the gap, pushing their way forward in hopes of severing the line in 2. Terra shifted course, making her way toward them. As she closed in, the Uvran caught sight of her. "Glow witch!" one exclaimed, calling out her presence. "Lit?" another responded. "Dimmed out," the first said. Terra could hear the delight in his voice, the joy at her weakness. Well, he would come to realize the error of his misjudgment soon enough. She feinted toward the left, his shield following her, looking to deflect her katana, just as she expected. As he shifted, so too did his legs, exposing one of his knees. She quickly spun and then dropped down, her leg kicking out and slamming into the side of his knee. A dull crack sounded as bone and ligaments gave way. The shield-bearer tottered and then fell to the side, stumbling back into the other shield-bearer beside him. Terra took the advantage offered and slashed her katana through the straps of the plate along his side, unfastening the chest plate. Her sword stabbed inward, sliding between ribs and spearing his heart. "Not entirely dim," Terra whispered, already moving to take on the other shield-bearer. Nearby Urnians moved in to support her, preparing to close the gap in the line with their tall tower shields once she dispatched the other Uvran. The dance was a short one, but still far longer than if she had her normal abilities. She'd spent enough time in training to be lethal regardless of circumstance, but the absence pained her. She could do so much more, not enough to change the inevitable outcome, but enough to make the Uvran bleed. To make them regret the misery they'd caused. To extract vengeance for all the lives lost and ruined. Terra took a step back, making way for the Urnian shield-bearers. She surveyed her surroundings, looking for another opportunity. Commander Hearns stood nearby, too weak to hold a shield, but not so weak he couldn't lend a spear to the cause. Between stabs, he analyzed the line, calling out commands and repositioning troops. As the Urnian line thinned, it gradually fell back into the mountain pass, giving ground steadily but maintaining control over the terrain. Less than 100 remained now. Even with the better ground, it wouldn't be long now. The Uvrin could sense it too, their aggression rising into a frenzy as they tried to break the last line of resistance. Once they were through, nothing stood between them and the Urnian mana fields. They would take them, and the war would be over. Or at least the Urnians' part in it. As time passed, the sun began to full beneath the horizon. Terra now fought back-to-back with Mishra, the two shoring up a flank against a dozen Uvrin soldiers. Commander Hearns marshaled what resources he could, but there was too little to work with. The Urnians numbered less than 20 now, holding the narrowest ground in the pass. Hopeless. Gradually, the Uvrins managed to surround them, isolating them from the Urnians. Once their encirclement was complete, the Uvrins parted, and a thickly muscled man strode forward. He bore the red wraps of an Uvrin warlock, with blood dabbings spread across his naked chest in bold swirls. The battle quieted as he approached, his eyes fixed on Terra and Misha. "Ah, I am so very glad you've been spared. Such a rare opportunity to find two such as you intact." Red ripples crawled along his skin, and 3 of the blood dabs briefly took the form of light blades. "I so wondered whether I would find any others to add to my collection. A sad consequence of the end of all this." He waved a lazy hand toward the last Urnian troops. Terra shifted her stance, eyes settling on the warlock. Evaluating. With the Uvrin, a warlock was always a possibility. One that Terra had known and hoped she wouldn't be confronted with. Dying in battle she could accept. Having her soul captured and weaponized against her own people was a fate far worse than death. "Not too late to change your mind," Misha said, her own stance shifting as well. The warlock grinned at that. "Would that I could. Alas, some things are not up to me. Fate calls and I respond." The red ripples increased in their intensity, the blood on his torso forming into shifting patches. Terra and Misha dodged to the side just as the wave of blood spilled forth from his chest toward them. It pooled onto the ground and began to form into a light blade. "Let's see how you do against one of your own." The blood light blade began to dance from foot to foot, moving in the practiced form of their craft. It slashed out, the blade of blood homing in on Terra, who leapt back. Engaging a blood white was sure death. The only way to deal with a warlock was targeting the warlock themselves. As Terra distracted the white, Misha charged the warlock, rapidly closing the distance. She made it halfway before Uvrin shield-bearers intervened, slamming their shields outward and pushing her back. Snarling, she made another attempt, dodging to the side only to be intercepted again. There wasn't a path to close the distance. They were just toying with them, wearing them down until the warlock could complete his work. The other Urnians were nowhere to be seen, blocked off by the wall of Uvrins. Terra continued to roll and dive about, trying to avoid the white's blade. Sweat coated her body, her leathers becoming a sweltering shell as she exerted herself. In the back of head, she just repeated the need to continue on, to last for as long as possible, to give Hez as much time as she could. Eventually, the sounds of battle died down elsewhere. The other Urnians were gone. Misha lay wounded on the ground, gasping as her lifeblood seeped from her wounds and slowly crawled its way along the ground toward the warlock. A single misplaced foot had been her downfall, sending her stumbling and into the path of the white's blade. The price of that mistake would be her soul, trapped for as long the warlock willed it. Terra looked at him, hate in her eyes. The white moved closer, tireless. "Not much longer now," the warlock said. "I'll see you in the depths," Terra said, gripping her blade, readying it for a final charge. Screams rang out amongst the Uvrin. Arrow loosed, fired skyward in a great volley. At first, Terra couldn't make out the words, jumbled and battle-weary, as she was. She kept her attention on the white, sidestepping and looking for an angle to charge the warlock. When she spared a look at the warlock directly, his attention was elsewhere, fixated on a point in the sky. Confused, Tara followed his gaze upward until she saw it. A burning blue flame streaking across the sky, a trail of smoke following in its wake. It turned and then dived downward, coming in with howling intensity. "Hez," Tara whispered. "Why did he come? What was he doing here? He needed to stay away, to recover." An explosion rang out like a thunderclap as Hezo landed amidst the Uvrins. They scrambled to reform themselves, only to be disrupted by great fans of flame incinerating them. Tara used the chaos to push into the Uvrin line, climbing and scrambling to get closer, calling out Hezo's name. Eventually, she dug her way through, emerging to see a man standing in a scorched patch of earth. Bodies lay in ruined heaps of burning ash around him. Hezo, the final mage. He looked exhausted. Blood traveled down the side of his face from a large gash above one eye. His robe was tattered to the point of unrecognizability. One of his boots were missing, as was one of the fingers on his left hand. He staggered unevenly, a single shaking hand directing an inferno of flame along the Uvrin troops. He faltered when he saw Tara wobbling on his feet. You're still here. Still alive," he said. "What are you doing here? You're supposed to be back at the fields." Hezo had been pushed too far. The other Urnian mages had been hunted down, one by one, until only he remained. As their lands had been consumed by the invaders, Hezo had done his best to save what he could and delay for as long as he could when that was no longer possible. He'd pushed himself farther than anyone had thought possible, devising new forms of magic and deploying it in ways defying understanding. But it hadn't been enough, and it had cost him far too much. He needed to rest, to recuperate, to prepare for the final retreat from the fields. Now he was here. Right where he wasn't supposed to be. "You need to go, Hez. Get out," she said. A box of prismatic shards appeared in a halo around his head, a giant eye within the box. The eye darted around, firing bolts of brilliant light at any nearby Uvrin, melting through their armor, burning through their body, and then traveling through the other side and into the next Uvrin. "Here." "You'll need this," Hezo said, reaching into his satchel and pulling out a small bottle of blue. He tossed it to her. "We fight our way out, or we stall until I get my flight spell back." Tara's eyes widened as she caught the bottle. A full flask? It was an obscene amount to be tossing around. She didn't second-guess it. She tore off the wax-coated stopper and chugged the contents. Warmth spread throughout her body almost instantly, a dull golden glow appearing around her and strengthening as her body made use of the mana. The sword in her hand flickered to life, golden flames traveling up and down the length of blade. "There's a warlock here," Tara said. Hezo nodded, his eyes searching the nearby Uvrin. "I feel him. He's holding back." "They aren't," Tara said as the Uvrins charged forward, trying to overwhelm them. Hezo smiled. "They should have brought more men." He raised his hand and the flames came out. "Enjoy another story. The first thing that failed was the lights. They didn't flicker. They popped, one by one, down the length of the corridor, in perfect rhythm like dominoes of exploding glass. Security Officer Renek jerked his head up from his datapad, hand instinctively hovering over his sidearm. No one was near the prisoner's chamber, not yet. He blinked at the dim glow of emergency strips lining the walls. His comm clicked on. Static. He tapped the side of his earpiece twice. Still nothing. "Control, this is Renek. We've got a localized blackout in Corridor 7A. Respond." Silence. The air smelled different. Sharp. Ozone, maybe. It made his eyes sting. He turned slowly toward the reinforced door at the end of the hall, the isolation cell. Triple-layer shielding, reinforced with internal stasis fields, auto-injectors, on standby for containment. The thing inside hadn't moved since they dragged it aboard the research vessel Glavinus 3 12 hours ago. Not thing, man, human, alone in a drop pod drifting cold through the Varkas system. No ID tag, no distress beacon, Just a pressure suit and a sealed crate full of encrypted slates, all wiped clean by the time tech tried to access them. Command didn't know what to make of him. So they told the researchers to dig, scan, test, dissect if needed. That was 9 hours ago. Renek stepped forward. A low buzz built in the walls. Panels jittered with static charge. Then the second thing failed. The AI screamed. Not in words. It was more like a feedback loop cranked through every channel. Internal, external, diagnostic, maintenance. It all hit at once. A raw, bursting howl of digital agony. The hallway lights flared, then burst into darkness. Renek drew his sidearm. Something inside the isolation cell knocked. Not hard. Just once. The door lock hissed open. Inside, a man sat on the floor with his back against the far wall. No restraints, no weapons. Bare arms, bare feet, torn combat shirt hanging loose at the collar. He looked up. Eyes clear. Quiet. "You should leave," the man said. Renek took a half step in. "Don't move." "I told them already," the man said. "Don't look. Too close." The lights above him pulsed dim to red, then flared back to white. The air pressure shifted. The corridor behind Renek sealed automatically. Backup systems taking over. Lockdown procedures. Too late. Renek opened a line to command again. Static. Then a voice broke through. "Containment breach. Deck 6. Internal." Then screaming. Short. Cut off. Renek stared at the human. The man stood slowly, hands at his sides. "You should really leave now." Renek aimed the weapon. "Down. Now." He didn't move. Instead, the lights in the hallway behind them came back on, all at once, blinding, then shut off again. The door behind Renek unsealed and opened. 2 more guards stepped in, weapons raised. "What the hell's going on?" one snapped. Renek didn't answer. He couldn't. He was watching the biometric screen above the door. It flickered numbers in quick succession. Temperature spikes, radiation bursts, unknown chemical profiles. The data looped nonsense for 3 seconds, then crashed. Then, the researchers started dropping. 1 level above, in Lab 6, Professor Errol pressed a palm to his face, groaning. Blood from his nose smeared across his fingers. He stumbled into the observation glass, barely catching himself. "Get a medic down here," he muttered. Someone screamed behind him. He turned. Dr. Inral was on her knees, hands twitching, eyes glassed over. The others were slumped over, consoles or vomiting into their sleeves. Errol reached for the comm. "Medical emergency. Whole lab team's down." The lights snapped off. Monitors flickered, systems shut down, consoles reset to default. The internal AI stopped responding. Every system scan reset with the same message. Human presence detected, signature mismatch, threat classification, absolute, immediate isolation required. Someone in medical tried to override the warning. The override failed. A second later, the console overheated and burned out. The power surged across all decks. Fires started in 3 maintenance hatches. Back near the isolation cell, Renek backed up as the human stepped forward. "You don't know what you're doing," the man said again. His voice didn't rise. It wasn't angry. The new guard stepped closer. "Get on the ground!" Then, dropped his weapon and clutched his chest. He coughed twice, dropped to his knees, and passed out. The other froze in place. Renek didn't breathe. He was sweating, trembling, but he didn't blink. "What are you?" he asked. The man turned his head slowly to look directly at him. The ship's AI returned online for a brief second. It didn't say words, just pushed a command out across all systems. Self-destruct initiated. Count began at 30. Renek's earpiece clicked on again. Full purge protocol. All decks evacuate. Do not approach the subject. Escape pods launching. They didn't wait. Renek turned and ran. The last thing he heard behind him was the sound of that human walking. Calm. Bare feet on cold metal. The man didn't run, didn't panic. He stepped into the next corridor. The walls there were already warped, heat signatures red critical. But nothing burned. He walked into the escape bay. The pods were gone, all but one. He didn't hurry, just stepped inside. The door sealed behind him. The ship shuddered. Then again. Somewhere deep in its core, the AI systems folded in on themselves. The code corrupted, fail-safes triggered, engines went hot. The Glavinus 3 cracked apart in orbit. 27 survivors, all scattered in pods across the sector. All of them said the same thing. They didn't understand what happened. Just that they should never have brought that man aboard. No one remembered launching. The last pod. No one saw where it went. Only one log remained in the system's black box. A looped warning. Station Lurven 9 sat in high orbit above a gas giant, far from major lanes. It processed hydrogen, kept quiet, and ignored anything that didn't bleed. Coolant. The crew was small, just enough to run systems and patch solar panel seams. Supply ships came twice a month. No one visited. So when a black escape pod dropped out of nothing and slammed into Docking Bay 2, alarms fired like someone had kicked a hornet nest. Technician Kravik stared at the feed. No ship. No approach. Vector. No identification. Commander Strath leaned over his shoulder. Trajectory? Nothing. Just appeared. The pod's outer hull was scorched. Scanners reported minor radiation, high thermal variance, and, he blinked, heartbeat. Inside, one occupant. Alive. Calm. What do we do? Kravik asked. Strath didn't answer. He was still watching the pulse monitor. It was steady. Too steady. Notify medbay, he said, and call security. No one opens that pod without a full team present. The med officer was already suiting up when they arrived. 2 guards stood ready, full armor, weapons up. Kravik stayed by the console. He didn't like the feel of it. Something wrong with the pod. It didn't ping right in their system, like it didn't exist until it touched the deck. The pod hissed once. Lock disengaged. No mechanical sound. It opened like it was letting go. Inside, the man sat still. Legs bent, arms relaxed. Dirty shirt, blank expression. His eyes looked too aware. Sir, said the med officer slowly, do you know where you are? The man looked up, then stood. No, he said, but I'm done flying. One of the guards moved closer, cuffs ready. Turn around, hands behind your back. He didn't argue, just did what he was told. They marched him out of the bay. The door slid shut behind them. The pod powered down. Completely. Systems couldn't ping it anymore. Later, Kravik checked again. The pod didn't exist in the ship's logs. No mass record. No ID. No name. He tried to delete the error. The console shut itself off. In medbay, the man sat on the table while scanners moved around him. No injuries, no burns, no signs of trauma, not even stress markers. Just normal human readings. Almost too normal. Dr. Yalen frowned. What's your name? The man didn't answer. Where are you from? He looked her in the eyes. You should stop. She blinked. Stop what? The scanner above them popped. Smoke trailed from the housing. Sparks dropped onto the table. Yalen jumped back. What the hell? The door behind her opened. Commander Strath walked in. You've got 5 minutes. Then we move him to isolation. Yalen stared at the man. He's not doing anything. He doesn't have to, Strath said. The floor vibrated beneath them. Just once, like the outpost had sighed. Kravik's voice came through the comm. We've got pressure irregularities in the docking corridor. Power spiking in localized sectors. I've got systems reporting internal errors that aren't real. Strath tensed. Pull diagnostics. I did, Kravik replied. System says everything's fine, but it's not. Yalen turned back. The man on the table hadn't moved. Please, she said, let me finish the scan. Strath didn't like it, but he nodded. Yalen reached for the backup console, started a deep scan. It lasted 2 seconds. Then every console in medbay lit up red. Threat identified. Unclassifiable human signature detected. Containment breach. Recommend full facility purge. Strath cursed. He reached for his comm. Lock down medbay. Now! The doors didn't respond. The man stood up again. You really should have listened. Yalen backed up fast. The monitors behind her cracked. Red lights rolled through the ceiling. The floor under them surged, like something deep in the station's heart had flinched. Strath drew his weapon. Stay where you are. I am, the man said. Then the power went out. All of it. No backups, no emergency lights, just dark. The air hummed, not a sound, more like a pressure. Someone screamed outside the bay. Glass shattered. Inside, the monitors flared back to life. Now, flickering loops. Human presence confirmed. Threat level, absolute. Recommend evacuation. Yalen grabbed her datapad and ran. Strath didn't move. He stood there staring at the man in the dark. You're not infected, he said. You're the virus. The man looked at him. No. Strath's voice shook. Then what are you? The man stepped forward. Just a soldier. Strath fired. The shot hit the wall behind him. He'd vanished, gone from the room. No sound, no motion, just gone. The hallway outside lit up. Just a strip of white light ahead of running boots and slamming doors. Kravik past 3 crew collapsed on the floor, twitching, bleeding from their noses. No wounds, just wrong inside. Alarms screamed, but not the usual ones. These were deeper, lower, something the system had never played before. By the time Kravik reached the command deck, half the station's core had shut down. The AI came online for 2 seconds. Its voice was garbled. Contamination exceeds models. Entity is not. Then cut off. Self-isolation protocols triggered. Airlocks locked. Mainframe shut. No one could leave. No one could call out. Except him. The man stood at the outer edge of the hangar, looking out into space. Stars turned slow behind the viewport. Strath found him there. Half his officers were gone. The rest couldn't talk. Some just rocked in place. One kept repeating the same phrase. Don't look at him. Don't look at him. Strath held his weapon again. No safety this time. Why here? He asked. The man didn't turn around. Strath stepped closer. You looking for something? Now the man turned. No, I was trying to sleep. Then go back to sleep. I tried. They opened the pod, started asking questions, started scanning. Strath narrowed his eyes. That's it? You're mad because we scanned you? The man looked at him, then laughed once. Just once. It's not about being mad, he said. You don't open something just because you can. You think knowing makes you safer. Sometimes it just makes you see things you shouldn't. Strath was sweating. He didn't understand the feeling, not fear, something else, like pressure behind the eyes, like standing too close to a reactor. We have rules, he said. You come in untagged, no ship, no ID. You go into holding. You get processed. It's not personal. The man nodded. And then your systems died. Your crew got sick. Your AI tried to kill itself. Not personal either. He stepped closer. I didn't ask to be built this way. Strath lifted his gun. Built? The man looked straight through him. Somewhere, someone made me into something else. I don't even know why. But they buried it so deep that only machines see it. And when they do, they break. Strath's hands shook. Then he fired again. And again. The bullets never reached the man. They stopped mid-air, just hung there. Smoking. The man blinked. The bullets dropped. I warned them, he said. Then the hangar doors blew inward. Vacuum pressure. Should have sucked them both out. It didn't. Instead, the man stepped forward, into space. No suit. No air. He just walked off the edge and vanished. They found the escape pod drifting again. this time outside the relay hub at Calyx Belt 9. Nobody opened it. No one on the station even approached it for hours. They just stared at the feed, watched the pod spin slowly near docking arm 3. No propulsion, no lights, just there. The pod wasn't transmitting, not even a beacon. The radiation signature around it was scrambled like a storm cloud of static. Sensors pinged it as organic, synthetic, hostile, and neutral all at once. The AI gave up and flagged it with a single designation: unknown. Access denied. Officer Malin sat with both hands flat on the console, eyes fixed on the rotating image. "How long's it been there?" 3 hours, 12 minutes, said the comms tech. "Any movement?" "No, but something's draining our local power grid. Not from the lines, just from around it." The screen flickered. Malin stood up and turned to the security feed. It was tracking the outer perimeter. Every camera in that sector blinked, out one by one, then came back, then died again. He grabbed the intercom. "Full alert, red level lockdown, no contact with that pod, no approach, no probes, no scans. If anyone touches it, they're off my deck." He waited for the usual grumbling reply. Nothing came back. He looked down. The comm light had gone dark. No sound. Then the hangar lights failed. Inside, alone, the pod door opened. No hiss. No power surge. Just air peeling away like it didn't matter. The man stepped out barefoot again. Same clothes, same look. He walked down the docking arm like he belonged there. No alarms triggered. He passed 3 workers. None of them saw him. One stood next to a welding torch, frozen mid-spark. Eyes unfocused, hands twitching. Another was curled into a corner, breathing shallow, nose bleeding, mouth open like she was dreaming. The third was trying to type something, but his fingers just pressed the same key again and again. The man didn't stop. He walked into the station's core, straight down the central line, past checkpoints and sealed doors. Every lock opened before he reached it. He passed no one else, but the AI saw him. Its voice broke through across every speaker in the station. "Don't look. Don't see. Run." Then it burned out. Malin was still watching the feed from his command chair. The hallway where the man walked kept cutting in and out. The lights blinked red, then went cold. Then the door to the command deck opened. Malin's hand went to his pistol. He didn't pull it. He just stood there, eyes fixed. The man stepped in, calm, still breathing slow, no threat posture. But the power grid in the walls warped. A camera lens on the far wall shattered. "Why?" Malin asked. The man stopped. "We didn't bring you here. We didn't scan you. We didn't do anything." "You exist," the man said. "So you noticed." Malin's jaw clenched. "That's not an answer. It's the only one I have." The monitors behind him shut off. Sparks drifted from an overhead panel. "You're not doing this?" "No," the man said. "I just walk. Things follow." Malin stared at him. "You don't want to be here, do you?" The man looked away. "Everywhere I go, it happens," he said. "It doesn't matter what I say or don't say. Touch or don't touch. They always scan, they always look, and then they can't stop. And then it breaks." Malin didn't lower his gun. "You said you were made." "I was," he said. "But I wasn't told why. I don't remember the process. Just woke up in a hole with a tag on my chest and instructions to run." "From who?" The man didn't answer. Then the station groaned. The sound came from deep, like the spine of the structure was twisting. Emergency systems came online. By the time he reached the last bay, only emergency lights remained. A single pod was left open. He stepped inside and vanished. 2 weeks later, a salvage team from the Varan League found what was left of Lurven 9. No survivors. Logs corrupted. No final messages, except one. Burned into the backup AI shell. Just 5 words. "The human is the weapon." They tried to decode it, trace it, model the incident. They couldn't. They did find one thing: A partial genetic map pulled from filtered air samples. It was human, mostly, but there were anomalies. Code structures not found in any other known species. Folded strands that didn't match any database. Patterns that reacted to sensor scans by altering their own output. Self-masking signatures. When they tried to replicate the sample, the computer running the simulation crashed. Permanently. 3 months later, the message appeared again. On a survey beacon in deep orbit. Same loop. No data trail. No known signal. Origin. Just a warning, repeating in every language. Human presence. Unclassifiable. Threat level. Absolute. Thanks for diving into this story with me. Don't miss out on the next one. Hit that subscribe button. Give this video a big thumbs up and drop a comment below with your thoughts. I'd love to hear what you think.